Okay, it's 2 past, so I think we'll get started. Welcome, everyone. My name is Michael, and I'll be hosting the webinar for you today. And I'll be showing you how to use the recruiting app to streamline your hiring processes. And I'll be showing you everything from setup to job creation to hire. The webinar will be recorded, and the recording will be shared with you afterwards. We have a chat functionality where you will be able to leave your questions throughout the webinar. Please note that I only be able to get to the questions once I finish the demo part, and then we'll have enough time for me to go through the chat, and I'll be answering all your questions. Just know that I won't be answering them live when you answered them, but I will be going through the questions afterwards. I will be sharing my screen in a minute, and I will be giving you a demo. Feel very free to open up your Personio account, follow along while I'm going through the settings with you, and then you can configure the settings in your account as well. We also have a helpful support center article that I'm going to share with you in the chat right now, and this will give you all the steps that you will need to complete before you post your first jobs. So this is just a nice summary to have of most things that we're going to discuss today anyway, just so you have that written down as well. Okay, perfect. I will share my screen and then we'll get going. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I am in my demo account at the moment, and will be working from here. And what I will want to show you first of all is in the settings and in the recruiting settings, how to set up a few things before you're actually ready to post your first job. The first thing I want to show you here is how to anonymize the candidate data and set up the candidate communication. We have here the data privacy settings, and here you can configure how many days the candidate data should stay in your account, or after how many days the candidate data should be deleted. So the default option here is 90 days, but I can change that around depending on when the data should be deleted. The countdown starts after a candidate is not active in the recruiting process anymore. So after you either hired them or you have rejected them. The candidate data will then anonymize automatically, so all personal data is deleted. However, you will still have data in reports that is available to you. So, for example, will be still able to see how many candidates applied for a job. For example, you just won't be able to see which specific candidates anymore. What you can do here as well is set up your recruiting email integration. This will enable you to communicate with your candidates directly from Personio. So you won't have to have your email account open in a separate tab. You can do all the email communication centralized directly in Personio, and all email messages that you send out or receive are also visible directly on the candidate profile. All you need to do is for this to, first of all, enter your own custom email address. Here, this would be your jobs at your email domain or career at email address. And after that, you scroll down and you either then use the Google Mail or Microsoft integration. You just hit the button here and then follow the steps. After that, all you need to do is put a forwarding setting into your email account that all emails are forwarded to the Personio email address, which is written here. This is an automatically generated email address that is tied to your Personio account. This is the last step necessary to make sure that emails are actually forwarded from your email account here to Personio, so that all emails that you receive are also visible on the candidate profile. Next, I will be jumping to the career page and give you a quick overview here. In Personio, you will see a default domain here, this will lead to your Personio career page. And this is where all jobs are published that you publish in Personio. These jobs are published here automatically. And depending on how you want to integrate your Personio email, not your Personio email, sorry, your Personio career page with your external career page, there's different options. You can either, for example, just use the link to the Personio career page and link it on your homepage. But there's lots of different options that also range in complexity. So you can also have a full API XML integration with an external career page that looks like, completely like your own, but in the background is connected to the Personio career page. So that's really up to you. That's something that you might want to discuss with your marketing team and IT team to make sure that you have the right option that works for you. Then I just want to show you here as well the default application form. This is where you configure the application form that your candidates will see when they apply for a job. Name and email address are always required, and then you have the chance to add additional fields here and mark them as required or optional. You can also create additional attributes or fields and add them to the application form here. You can also choose which of the documents your candidates should supply when they apply for a job on your career page. Okay, I will scroll up a bit again, and I will jump now ahead into the roles here. The recruiting roles are similar to the employee roles, as they determine what kind of access rights the recruiting team or anybody that is involved in the recruiting process has to the job or to the candidate profile. We have a selection of default recruiting roles here, which you're welcome to use and which is a good starting point, but you're of course welcome to create your own ones or edit the existing ones. So typically the recruiter would have the most access rights as they're involved in the whole recruiting process. So typically you would see edit rights for all areas of the recruiting process, for the position, for the application, for messages. The recruiter can basically see and do everything when it comes to the recruiting process. Then on the other hand, we have an interviewer. An interviewer might be someone that jumps in quickly to have a one-off interview with a candidate, but shouldn't have any additional rights on that. So they might have view rights for a few information, but shouldn't, for example, see the messages that were sent to the candidate, or they shouldn't be able to see the offer that is made to the candidate. So that is just one example of how the interviewer role could be set up. And of course, you can go ahead and change the access rights here. Line manager is an additional example. That might be the future manager, the future supervisor. So they should have additional access rights to the interviewer, but shouldn't be able to see everything or shouldn't be able to maybe extend the offer themselves, which would be the responsibility typically of the recruiter. Note that in these recruiting roles, all the way at the top, you can also select which kind of notifications you want to receive. So if a new application comes in, you can get a notification via email informing you of that. And you can determine which recruiting role should have which notifications. Okay. Then I want to show you a few more settings that should be set up before creating the first job. One is the email templates. The email templates will enable you to make the whole communication with the candidates easier. Any email that you send out can be saved in a template, and then you just select the template that you want to send out. And with a few clicks, you have the email sent. So for example, if you want to invite someone to an interview, or you want to reject an applicant, or you want to make an offer to a candidate, everything can be saved in an email here. You will also see that we have these placeholders here in the email, which will enable you to quickly pull information either from the candidate profile or from the job and write them directly into the email here. You will also see that we have placeholders for like interview date and time, for example, that can be pulled into the email. So you really only have to select the email, quickly view if the template is filled in correctly, and then send it off with just a few clicks. Again, you will find some default email templates in your account, but feel free to create your own email accounts or edit the existing ones. Next, I want to come to the recruiting categories and stages. Quickly starting with the stages. The stages are the interview stages that your candidates are going through. So every time there's a decision point of a candidate moving from one stage to the next, you can, or they would typically move from one stage to the next. So each stage represents a decision point. So the first step here would be to collect all the stages that you typically have in a recruiting process across all your jobs. And then once you've done that, you go then to categories and you actually create different categories for your roles. So for example, we have one category for permanent employee, which has these 7 stages created here. But someone that applies for an IT role, for example, they might have a slightly different interview process, as they might have like a coding case, for example, or one less interview. So the goal would be to group all the categories together for the jobs that have the same interview process. And then later on, when you create a job, you would actually select one of these categories and the interview plan is pulled through. Next, I will go to interviews. This is all the different kind of interviews that you can have with the candidates. So every time you schedule an interview, you will select one of the interviews that you have created here. The candidates will then also see, the candidates and all interviewers would see which type of interview it is, so they're informed about it. I want to also show you the evaluations. Evaluations are a way to gather structured feedback after an interview. So whenever an interview happened or a touch point with a candidate happened, you can ask the interviewers to fill out an evaluation form and then gaining feedback in a structural way about the candidate. The candidates would not be aware of this feedback. This is really only for your internal process. Forms are organized in sections, and each section has a set of questions that would be answered by the interviewers or the recruiting team. These can be, for example, language skills, if you're looking for specific language skills, or this can be pre-qualifications. After you created these questions, you would then, these questions in these sections, you would then go and create these forms, and the forms then in turn contain the sections, which in turn contain the questions. Then later on, you can add these evaluation forms directly to an interview, or you can send them off to someone that should fill them in. Finally, I want to guide you to the disqualification reasons over here. Disqualification reasons are all reasons why candidates are not successful in the interview process. So this could be rejection reasons, meaning any reason that you would have rejected the candidate, or that could be withdrawal reasons if the candidate withdraws from the interview process, letting you know that they don't want to continue the process. Every time you then reject a candidate, you would choose either a disqualification reason or withdrawal reason, and then select which of these specific reasons you want to select. The candidates would never see which reason is selected. This, again, is only for your internal overview. You can later build reports and see how many candidates were rejected from which jobs because of which reason, and you can then make your learnings from that. Okay. So this was the overview of the basics of the settings that I wanted to show you before creating a job. And now we would actually go into the recruiting tab here, and we would create our first job. Here I would go to jobs and to create a job. I'm now going through a workflow that will ask me all the information that are needed to create my job. I will, for example, now look for, let's say, customer success manager. This is the internal job title. That can be the same or different to the external job title. So this is only internally facing. The external job title is what would appear on the career page. For each job, I can also create a set of openings. So that would be the headcount. So how many people do you actually want to hire for that job? If it's only one, you can create one title here. If it's additional ones, you can create additional ones. Maybe you want to also like hire a junior CSM and a senior CSM at the same time. But they should be posted both under the same job posting, so you can create a headcount for the different seniority levels as well. You would also select your planned start date. The planned start date is the actual first day of working. So you can always keep in mind when the person should start and how far along the hiring process is. The start date wouldn't be posted or visible to the candidates. Next, you have to enter a few more details. So which legal entity do you want to post a job in and which department? And then we have a set of attributes: job type, occupation, employment type, and contract type. These are fixed options and cannot be edited, or no further options can be added. These are pre-requirements for you to be able to post your jobs on external job boards. So these categories come from external job boards, so they can categorize them and post them. You will also select a workspace, and if you post your job in more than one location, you can add additional ones. Next, you will select the experience level and years of experience if you want to, and you can also provide the salary information directly in the job posting. You can either toggle that on or off. Next, we come to the job description. This is now the actual job posting that will be visible on your career page and on the external job boards if you use them as well. So this is now the external job name. It can be, as I said, the same or different than the internally facing one. And you would then go ahead and add the information to these headers that would be visible on the career page on job posting. So you would enter some text here, and text here. Please mind that this About Us section is always automatically added to each job posting, and this is the chance for you to give general information about your company and without having to put it or like configure it in every job posting. You might find the default Personio setting in there, so make sure to go to the settings. They're linked here to actually enter information. You're also able to provide like a video or a picture file as well. Next, we come to the application form. The application form is the default application form that was configured in the settings. I just showed you that, but here you're able to make edits. So if the default application form doesn't work for you, you can also select or add additional fields. The same with the documents. The hiring plan, here's where you select who is responsible for the job. So you can select your colleagues and give them a role directly. As a quick callback, as a quick reminder, the roles determine what kind of access rights and responsibilities someone has during the recruiting process. You can add one or more to your team, and you can always add additional people later as well. Next, you would select the category. As a quick reminder, the category determines the interview process. So this is what we configured earlier in the category settings. And here you see the interview plan is pulled through based on the selection I made here. And these are now all the steps that the candidate should go through. That was too early. We have options for automatic screening in Personio as well. So if you want to, you could, based on a selection in the application form that candidates made, you could automatically reject them. Typical example being that you post a role where a driver's license is absolutely necessary, and if you ask the candidate if they have one and they answer no, the system can automatically reject them. Or maybe you can ask the candidates if they need like a visa and you can't provide that for a certain role, and if they select yes, then you can also automatically reject them. So this can be set up here if this is something that you're interested in. Then I would next publish the job. Let me see if I have all my details filled out. Perfect, I've published the job. Let me go back to the job and let me show you quickly how you can promote the job as well. I think this is the one I just created. Yeah. And I just want to guide you to a promotion tab here as well. As a quick reminder, your job is automatically posted on your career page, plus any external job boards that are integrated on the account level with Personio, for example, Indeed or LinkedIn. But for every job, you can also promote these jobs separately. So you will see a long list of job boards here. Based on the setting, my tester content might not show up. However, if you followed along, you might see a long list of promotions here or like job packages that you can purchase directly from within Personio. Yeah, so the jobs are automatically posted on connected job boards on the account level, plus you can post or you can promote jobs additionally on the job level itself by navigating. Let me quickly show that again, to the job itself, and then to the promotion button. So that was the quick overview of how to create a job. Next, I would love to show you how to manage candidates. And for that, I'm going to go to back to the main page in recruiting and go to applications. A few things here. Here you have the so-called application list. This is similar to the employee list that gives you a long list of all your applications, and you see some information based in these columns here. And the same as in the employee list, you can add additional columns here based on the information that you would want to see. You can also sort these columns by either alphabetically or, for example, by date, if you want to see the most recent or applications, for example. You will also see here how many days candidates spent in their current stage. And if you created a maximum number of days, let me go back. If you created a maximum number of days per stage, these will be marked in red if the candidate spends too much time in a stage. What you can also do from this employee candidate list, you can mark multiple employees and then, for example, bulk disqualify them from the job or bulk email them or even bulk delete them. So typical example being you hired someone for a job, they were successful, but there's still 10 candidates in the pipeline that all need to be disqualified, and you, rather than having to do it one by one, you can just mark them here, hit disqualify, and then disqualify the candidates in bulk. If we go to a candidate profile, we can see here a few additional details. On the profile itself, you will see all the attributes that were configured, and you can here add additional information if you learn something later on. You can always select which fields you want to fill in information. Maybe you learned their GitHub or LinkedIn profile, and then you add the information. Same with any documents that they provided. You can see them here, and you can also upload additional documents. With the messages, you will see all the messages that were sent out to the candidate or received from the candidate, so you can always see all the messages. So even if multiple recruiters work on the same job, they can always see the whole the whole email chain, even if they didn't send it themselves. Earlier, I talked about the evaluation forms, and here you will see an overview of all the evaluations that a candidate already received. And you can have a look at what feedback they received. And you can also here fill in a new evaluation yourself. So if you click on it, select the evaluation form, and then you get all the questions that were configured in the form, and you can leave your feedback. And additionally, you can also request someone else to give feedback in an evaluation form. So by clicking on the request review button here and selecting evaluation, you can ask a different colleague to fill in the evaluation form that you would select here. They will then get an email notification asking them to fill in the evaluation, and you can even set reminders for that. Another way of giving feedback is via comments. Comments is like a quick one-off way to give feedback, and you can even leave a little comment if it was positive, neutral, or negative. For example, just had a call, or this candidate went very well. And this is then added here, and you can see with the little emojis here if it was a positive, neutral, or negative comment. You can also tag your colleagues to maybe ask them for feedback or ask them to weigh in. What do you think? So if you tag them, you can select your colleagues that have access to the candidate profile and leave a comment as well. Via this button up here, you can move the candidates through the hiring process. So here are all the stages of the interview process, and you can select which stage the candidate should be in. If you need to disqualify the candidate, you can do that here. You can then select if the candidate rejected or the candidate withdrew or you rejected the candidate and leave the specific reasons. These are all the reasons that I've shown you earlier in the settings. You can leave an additional note, and you can reject this email if you want to. You can even then time the email so the rejection isn't sent out immediately, but at a later point. If you're ready to make an offer to the candidate, you can move them to offer, and then you select offer here, and you create an actual offer. Let me quickly delete this example offer, and I will create a new one. By clicking on new offer, you can then create an offer with a contract document or without one. If you select with a contract document, you can select from your templates that you have configured in your Personio settings to generate either the offer document or the work contract document right here in Personio. As with other templates in Personio, you will see certain placeholders that you can then fill in, and these information would be written directly into the document. And you can click on Preview Document at any time to see how the document will look. You can also see these signature placeholders. This is where later on the candidate or the recruiter would sign. These are always marked by a double at the beginning and the end. These would then also disappear and be replaced with a signature. So this would not be in the final document. Once you've created the document, you can then choose to send the document out via email to the candidate or even ask them to sign. Or you can also just save the document on the candidate profile and maybe inform the candidate another way that they got the job and ask them to sign in person on their first day in the office, for example. If you send it via email, you can then choose who should sign it. So one is the candidate and one is, for example, the recruiter. You can select which signature type should be selected, and then you can send the offer out. Now you would wait until the candidate is replying in the positive or negative. You can then click on offer accepted or offer declined. If the offer is accepted, you will then be guided into a workflow to actually select the position that's filled. And you can also now here directly create a candidate profile. So Personio will pop up a little workflow, ask you to confirm the information. And then if you click on next and create a profile, then this candidate is actually created as an employee profile and will be visible in your employee list. And that is the candidate lifecycle of how candidates come into the system, how you can manage them, and how you can either reject or make an offer to them. And that is actually everything that I wanted to show you today regarding Personio recruiting. I will come to the questions in a minute. I'll have a look if there's questions in the chat. Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you joining me for the candidate. I hope you found it helpful. And yeah, let me have a look at the chat and see if there's anything there. Okay, so there is a question. It was posted in German, but I'll translate it into English. Let me check. Now it disappeared. Sorry, let me just. Yeah, okay. So. Sorry, my user couldn't. So I'm struggling a bit with the Q&A chat. Let me check because it is not really loading for me. Just a minute. Okay. Okay, so yeah, so I see one question. I'll translate it into English. Can the candidate see in the comment column, or can they see the comment column and the evaluation that you give them? No, that's a very good question, and I'm happy to clarify that again. Candidates have in no way access to your Personio account, so they will not see their their candidate profile. They will not see the messages. Obviously, they have their own copy of the messages in the email accounts. They will not see the evaluations, the comments, anything unless you send them an email or an invitation for an interview. Candidates do not have access to Personio. The candidate profile is created when they apply, but that is just for you to work with the profile, not for the candidate to log in and see any information. Thanks for the question. Let me check the next question. We mainly use recruitment agencies and liaise with the agencies to schedule interviews with them instead of the candidate. How's this process different to the one you're showing, which is more direct candidate focused? Yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, so the process I've showed you that would be for you to directly communicate with the candidate, send them interviews, and so on. If you want agencies, recruitment agencies to do that, there's one way of either you giving them access to your Personio account and basically having them like as an external employee that you would mark as external, and then giving them access to the recruiting app, and they would then be able to use all the functionality that I would just show you. Just please bear in mind that you would have to create an employee profile for them, and they would also be covered by the all-employee rule. So you would have to be really careful to only give them the access rights that they should see. The other possibility is you could create these candidate profiles, but with the external recruiting email addresses instead of the candidate email addresses. So whenever you send them an email, you really send an email to the recruiter who then gives you an update, for example. Or you just use the candidate profiles without communicating to them, and you rely on external updates from the recruiters, but you still use Personio to move them along the interview process, to leave evaluation and comments. You just wouldn't use it for the messages or interviews. So there's a few separate workarounds that you could use for that. I think I saw another question. Oh yeah, thank you for the question. I thought I saw it, but then it somehow disappears. Whether you can, the question is whether you can only choose one text for the company in the settings. I'll quickly go back to show you what is meant by that. If we move to recruiting here and to the career page, this About Us section that is configured here. This About Us section is for the whole account, and you cannot create different ones for different legal entities, for example. If this doesn't work for you, I would recommend to just leave the setting completely empty and creating an additional section within the job where you can leave specific information for these separate legal entities that jobs are posted under. There also you can like create basically a template job and just template job for each legal entity, for example. You copy those jobs and then all the information within the jobs copied over as well, including the separate about us section that you created for these jobs. So you wouldn't be in a situation where you every time have to enter this data again. You can just have that in your template job and then it's copied over automatically. Let me have another look. I hope that was helpful. If any of the questions, if you need additional information, just pop in, the info in the chat, pop the question in the chat, and I will, yeah, I will get it to them. So I currently don't see any additional questions in the chat, but I will give you another minute or two to leave your questions in there, and then we can go through them. We still have a bit of time to cover them, so feel free to post any questions that you have. Okay. So I'm just gonna have a look at the chat one last time. I only see thank you very much. You're very welcome. Then thank you so much for joining, everyone. I hope this was helpful for you. As I said before, this has been recorded and the recording will be sent to you via email, so you do have access to the webinar later on as well. And yeah, I hope you will have a lot of success with your hiring process with Personio. I wish you all the best with Personio, and thank you for joining and have a great day. Bye.